Hello and welcome to this first episode of this Devlog series. And in this first episode we will look into the tutorial for the implementation or the adoption of a plugin made with SwiftGodot. As you can see here, this is in release on GitHub. It's available either the Godot code but also the Swift code relative to the plugin. The Godot code will include the simple implementation of an application. What we need to do is just to copy the link to the repository. In this case I will copy the HTTPS link, but you can use the SSH or the GitHub client based on your setup. Anything will work. And in this case I will go in Visual Studio Code and I will use the link that I just copied to clone the repository on my local drive. Once I clone the repository and select the folder, I can open the window, and now I have to trust the author, that's fine. And now I have the full repository in my local hard drive. I have the Godot code, the Swift code as we said, but we will focus on the Godot code. We don't need to do any change on the Godot code. The only thing that we need to do is to import the add-on binaries, the precompiled binaries for iOS. Those are linked into the GD extension, so make sure that this URL or these links are actually fine. But in the GitHub repository you can find the releases. Basically this is the precompiled version of the plugin. I will download the iOS one and I will save in my add-on folder under the Godot project folder. Now if I switch back and I unzip the iOS zip file, and now if I go back into my Godot project, I can see that I have now the two folder with the two framework. I don't need any longer the zip file, so I can remove it. And now that I have the two framework, I can also look at the extension file and I can clean it up because we don't need macOS for now. So and I just downloaded the iOS, so I will delete this entry in the GD extension file. Those are not needed. You can see that there is also the debug option. In this case the zip file on the release doesn't include the debug, so if you are running this in debug mode you will get an error. But for running this on our iPhone we are good to go. So now we can open Godot, the project in Godot. I will import this project into my Godot 4.3. so I'll go there, click on the project Godot file and I will import into my Godot. And the only thing that we need to do in here is just to select and create the export preset. In this case, as I said, we will do for iOS, and there are two parameters that we need to set up. The first one is your team ID, that is the one in App Connect, and the other one is basically the bundle identifier. In this case I will do com.ztpower BasicPlugin. And once this is done, so let me write down, there is one setting. This is optional. This is actually just for me to be more precise when I export, is to change the minimum iOS version to 17, as this plugin will work just for iOS 17. So now the settings are set up, the export settings are set up. What I will do, I will close this just to make sure that everything is saved, and I will reopen as project export and I will export. In my case, what I usually do, I create another folder in the structure that is the export folder. So let me create the export folder and I will just save the IPA no debug mode. Now we will expect this to fail because of the certificates, and we will fix those in Xcode. So now we see that there is an error during the export, but now we open the export project into Xcode, and we need to fix the few things. So let's open our target in Xcode in larger screen. Okay, the target. I just noticed that I forgot to set up in Godot the orientation, so let me put this in portrait mode, and I will also do the opposite. But the most important thing is to go in the signing section and make sure that everything is signed. I use auto sign. I will select my certificate. When this is done, I can run the application on my iPhone that I have connected to the laptop. So now let me run the phone on the phone, and this is the application loading on my iPhone. As you can see, it's a very simple application. It will test the basic connectivity between the Godot application and the Swift package. You can see that I test the different way of interacting, and that's it. It's simple as that.